Hello, welcome back to Cory Reads. I am Cory. Thanks for joining me. I am going to continue with our reading of the Bible. We are on the first book of Moses called Genesis chapter 3. All right, and let's jump right into it. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord had made. And he said unto the woman, Ye hath God said, Ye shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden. But of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God hath said, Ye shall not eat of it, neither shall ye touch it, lest ye die. So basically, she is repeating that God said, If you eat from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, you will die. And the serpent follows up and says, And the serpent said unto the woman, Ye shall not surely die, for God doth know that in the day ye eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and ye shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired to make one wise, she took of the fruit thereof, and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. So basically, the serpent says that once they eat from the tree, they won't die. Instead, they will have the knowledge of good and evil and be as gods. And then, and the eyes of them both were opened, and they knew that they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. And they heard the voice of the Lord God walking in the garden in the cool of the day. And Adam and his wife hid themselves from the presence of the Lord God amongst the trees of the garden. So now that they have the knowledge of good and evil, they realize they were naked, and so they made clothes. Because apparently it's evil to be naked. And and they heard the voice of the Lord God. Sorry, skipping ahead a bit here. Okay. And the Lord God called unto Adam, and said unto him, Where art thou? And he said, I heard thy voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, and I hid myself. And he said, Who told thee that thou wast naked? Hast thou eaten of the tree thereof, or whereof I commanded thee that thou shouldest not eat? And the man said, The woman who thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree, and I did eat. So God says, Who told you were naked? Did you eat from the tree? And Adam said that Eve did it. She tricked him into eating it. She was, yeah. So, and the Lord God said unto the woman, What is this that thou hast done? And the woman said, The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat. And the Lord God said unto the serpent, Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. And to the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. So God curses the serpent to crawl around on his belly and eat dust. And this part here. The enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Interesting. So apparently you're not supposed to like snakes. And you're supposed to hit him in the head. And then he said to Eve that there's going to be pain, and cursed her conception, and in sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thou desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. So basically, according to the Bible here, this is where he said that she's supposed to have children, and it's going to be painful and sorrowful, and that her husband rules over the wife. And unto Adam he said, Because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of thy tree of which I commanded thee, saying, Thou shalt not eat of it, cursed is the ground for thy sake, and in sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herb of the field. So because Adam listened to his wife, he got cursed. Cursed is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the day of thy life. So now they have to eat in sorrow forever. And now there's thorns and thistles coming out of the ground and the trees. So now everything's not all nice and pretty. And in the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return into the ground. For out of it went thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. Unto Adam also said to his wife, Did the Lord God make coats of skin and clothe them? And the Lord God said, Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil, and now lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. Therefore the Lord God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims, and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. So, So basically, eating from the tree of knowledge of good and evil made them like gods. God says here, like us, has become one of us, to know good and evil. So God's referring to there's multiple gods, or beings that know good and evil. But then he kicks them out of Eden because if they ate from the tree of life, then they'd be immortal and be gods. So that's why they get kicked out. And it's guarded by a flaming sword, which turned every way, and a cherubims. And that basically is put up there to prevent them to getting to the tree of life, because if they ate the tree of life, since they already ate from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, they would become gods, according to, and immortal, according to God here. So Adam has to go out, till the ground, work the fields until he dies. And then it goes back to dust, back to the dirt from whence he was made. And that is the end of chapter 3, which takes us basically the serpent basically says, eat from the tree to Eve. And she does. She gives it to Adam. They both now know good and evil. They realize they're naked. God makes them clothes after he kicks them out and tells them that Eve's going to have birth is not going to be easy. It's going to be painful. And Adam has to go work the land and to make his food until he dies. And now there's thorns and thistles, and yeah, that's where we're at. It's curious though on here that they're talking about that Lord God said, Behold, the man has become as one of us. This is the second time that's referred to multiple gods. Was just kind of interesting. I don't know where that premises came from at the time, that they would write that Moses would include that there's multiple gods in the Bible, or at least beings that are immortal and have knowledge of good and evil. So that wraps up chapter 3. Thanks for listening, and next time we'll move on to chapter 4. Thanks.